Welcome back, everybody, to the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show. We are 10 games above 500, and that's a pretty good spot to be as we are late in the month of June. However, we are still 4 games behind the Brewers now, as it has been a pretty tough stretch lately. We've only got 3 wins out of the last 10 games, and we have skidded now to second place firmly behind the Brewers and still trying to remain above the Reds. The end of the last episode featured 5 losses in a row. We get 3 out of 4 lost to Milwaukee, 2 in a row from Seattle, and now the clincher in Game 3 as we determine if we get a sweep and 6 losses in a row. I would like to avoid one of these long stretches as the month of June has been really kind to us, except for the last week and a half. So let's stop the losses here. Get Zach Littell back on the mound versus Brian Wu. He's having a pretty good year for the Mariners. They are having a good year, 47-36. We are right there pretty much shoulder to shoulder with them, but let's see if we can avoid the sweep. Yeah, we've got a moment for David Bednar if we can do it. 2 on, 2 outs, and a 2-run lead. Let's try. Pitcher is getting tired as we've got Bednar in here. We only need 1 more out, but just in case, let's take a look at the bullpen. Hunter Stratton is absolutely not available. His energy is below 50%. Garrett Clevenger could make an appearance, but out of these guys right now, I'd be the most comfortable, of course, with Carmen Mlodzinski, who over 23 1/3 has a 1.54 ERA and just barely a sub-1 whip. If we need to pull anybody else in this situation, it's going to be Mlodzinski. He's also got 90 clutch, so he's definitely the guy that I want warmed up. But let's see if we can avoid having to use him. It's Blaze Alexander at the plate, and he's averaging 265. He is 1 for 4 today. Big miss in the center of the zone by Bednar. That's not a great sign. All right, let's try a splitter away. That misses center of the zone, but Arise is able to field it, and we've got the save. Bednar strands 2, and the Pirates win. And it's the first time in a week. Thank you, guys. And after the day off, we will now host the Minnesota Twins, who are just barely above 500, but that is a lot closer than it felt some weeks ago. We are now 48-37, and the march continues. Paul Skeens versus David Festa. This looks to be a favorable matchup. Well, not so favorable for us, it would seem. We get shut out 6-0, and Paul Skeens now has 9 losses on the year. 5 wins, 9 losses with a 2.59 ERA, 114 strikeouts, and 111 innings. Yeah, that is a Paul Skeens Pittsburgh Pirates stat line for sure. All right, we'll see if Jared Jones versus David Peterson goes our way. It sure does. That's a 9-6 win. Bednar gets credited with that. Let's see what happened in the box score. It was a multi-hit day for Steve Seidlinker, Jack Sawinski, and Luis Arise, all getting 2 hits on the day. Seidlinker, Sawinski, and Triolo all hit home runs. That's pretty cool. Stolen bases from O'Neal Cruz and Luis Arise. Arise also caught on the bases trying to steal another one. Jared Jones does not get the quality start, but it's not a bad one. He pitched for 5 innings with 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts. So I'd say a pretty strong start for him. 3 relievers in a row all give up an earned run to make this game pretty scary, though. Clevenger, Santana, and Hunter Stratton before David Bednar comes in for the final inning and gets 1 walk, but no earned runs. There you go. With the series now split, we will put up Andrew Abbott versus Joe Ryan. And that is a win to seal the series. There we go. 50 wins on the dot now on the 1st of July. Hopefully we can keep these fireworks rolling as we welcome Milwaukee. They have been very tough, and it's now another division battle. Even if we win all 3 games here and sweep the Brewers, we are still not going to take the division back with this series. But it would be nice and somewhat of a moral victory if we can take 2 out of 3 at least. I'd like to win the series, give us a little bit of a closer feel. So we're going to put up Shane Baz versus Jesus Luzardo. And that is a loss. They double our score. It is 8-4. Very tough there. In Game 2, Zach Littell versus D.L. Hall. This is going to be another tough one. That's closer, but still a loss, and that's 2 out of 3 down as the Brewers are now threatening a sweep. Well, there might just be only one man that can conquer this Milwaukee Brewers team, and it could be Paul Skeens. I'd like to not see him hit double-digit losses before the All-Star break. He should have 2 starts before we do break. Let me see if they've got him projected. Well, the order would be Zach Littell gets the first game against Baltimore, and then that Saturday should be Skeens, and then the Sunday following before the break would be Jones. So if that still holds true and we've got no hiccups or glitches to speak of, then yes, Paul Skeens will get 2 more starts before the break, and I'd like to see 2 more wins added onto that record. Bottom of the 8th with 2 men out, bases loaded, and Max Schumann at the plate. Yes, let's step in against the division leaders. This is definitely a tough situation for Schumann to be in. Danny Young is on the mound, and he's only thrown 4 pitches so far, so that energy is very high. The confidence not far behind it. He throws a sweeper, sinker, and a cutter. So 2 out of 3 are going to come inwards towards Schumann. He's got to be careful. The speed looks very low, topping out projected at 91 for the sinker and cutter. We should be able to get a hold of this guy. All right, I wanted to at least look at one. There's been so many situations that I've just swung on the first pitch. That might have been the one to do it because it could just be all junk from here. But center of the zone sinker, we let go. And that one's inside the cutter. Wanted to make sure that I had plenty of time on that, but I was too early. It's also not a good pitch to swing on as it's now 0-2. That one was better. A sinker, that's got to be a miss from Young. I don't think he would intentionally throw that ball center zone. We did get good timing, although almost early. Again, 0-2. That one's hit well, and no, they stop it! No! Strand all 3 of them on solid contact. Man, Bryce Terang coming up big defensively for the Brew Crew. And they do complete the sweep. My goodness. I don't want another episode with a ton of losses. Can we stop this right now, please? All right, next up is the Tigers, and we are going to Detroit to face them for a 3-game stretch. They are 3 games under 500. This is another team that I feel like we have a very good chance at beating, but it just does not feel like things have been going our way. It's like, I don't know. We've got 50 wins before the break. It's not been a bad year whatsoever. It's been a good one, but like, the feeling, the demoralization of loss after loss and long streaks, it's not just 1 or 2 losses every other series or whatever. It's 9 losses in a row, 6 losses in a row, etc. 2 sweeps back to back, It's demoralizing the way that we're losing. We're really not losing as much as it feels like, but the way that we're losing is ugly. So let's stop it. Let's get Jared Jones win number 6. Come on. Well, in order to do that, we're going to have to pass this situation now. It's bases loaded once again, top of the 8th, 2 outs, and we are down by 2, but the bases are loaded for Brian Reynolds. Let's step into this one. All right, Reynolds is averaging .265. Tyler Holton was just brought in for the Detroit Tigers, and he throws 5 pitches, cutter, sinker, circle change, sweeper, and fastball. Nothing coming in projected above 94. He hit that one well. It goes to right, and it is brought down. Man, that's a good timed swing and solid contact, but we'll strand another full base-loaded situation. Gosh, man. And the Tigers hang on to win this one to extend our losing streak to 4. Next up is Abbott versus Frankie Montas. Montas? I'm not sure where the inflection is on that one. Montas would be the way that I would just read it without like any accent mark or anything like that. So I don't know. Frankie Montas, maybe. He's 5-7, 97 innings pitched, 86 strikeouts, and a 3.70 ERA. A very solid line that right now I can't help but feel envious of. As it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to do here. I can't, bench guys for a few days, or well, maybe I could, but it's not like an easily identifiable problem. We've got some offense, although in the last 3 games, we've only scored 3 runs total, 1 run in each game. So the last 3 games have not really been indicative of what's been happening. We scored 4 against a tough Milwaukee bullpen and rotation. We scored 5 against Minnesota, 9. We got shut out. We scored 5, 4, 1, 4, 3, 4, 4, 5. I mean, yeah, you see it. We've got offense. And the same really holds true for the pitching, although we are averaging definitely more runs per game than I would like. We're definitely closer to 4 or 5 at this point. I have to imagine it's somewhere in between those two. And for me, the magic number has always been 3. If we can score more than 3 and we can allow less than 3, that's typically a win versus just about any team. So we'll see what happens here in game 2. And it is 8-7 in the bottom of the 9th for David Bednar. We got to get a good situation here, a good result, a real turnaround, feel-good moment here. I'd love to get it before the All-Star break. All right, we got plenty of energy. Bednar's only thrown 1 pitch. I imagine that base runner is his off of a hit. So let's double-check the bullpen and make sure we've got a backup just in case. And it's the same real, line of reasoning that I used previously in the situation to warm up Carmen Mlodzinski. He is fully ready to go with complete energy, and he still looks stellar with his stats in the time that it's been. I don't know if he's even thrown any extra, but he's still got a 1.85 ERA. Oh, he must have thrown because he's got a 107 whip now. It was 0.99. So anyways, Mlodzinski, as the most well-rested and most reliable, is getting warmed up. And let's just hope that we don't need him. Start off with something funky here. I'll give him a curveball, trailing low and away. That's a really good one. Right at the bottom of the zone. Vierling only can foul that thing off. All right, let's do a fastball low and away. How about that? Really good spot. Bednar, we throw to second. Cruz fields it back to first, and we've got him on the double play. Excellent job. And Riley Green steps to the plate. The number 3 batter who is 3 for 3 today, averaging .297. We'll begin with a splitter. Misses under the zone. All right, we'll go fastball, low and inside. That goes high instead, so Winsky's running back towards foul territory in the wall, and he does not have it. It bounces off the top. All right, we'll try this again. I'm going to go high and tight with that fastball. It's at the top of the zone, called for strike 2, and now we can throw a curveball outside the zone, and he does not go after it. All right, what about a fastball low and away? That one challenges center of the zone on the slight miss, but it's only fouled. Let's try the top of the zone with the fastball again, high and tight. It's inside. Triolo is going to field it there right in front of third base, and we have secured a win at long last. All right. Big offensive day for the boys as we registered 13 hits, 8 RBIs, 3 walks, and 9 strikeouts. Notables for offense on the day. Arise going 2 for 5. Brian Reynolds 2 for 4 with a walk. Jock Peterson only had 1 hit. And Joey Bart had 1 for 5. Okay. 2 for 4 for Jack Sawinski, both of those being home runs. Nick Gonzalez with an excellent day, going 3 for 4. 2 of those are doubles. And Jared Triolo going 2 for 3 with a walk as well. Brian Reynolds and Joey Bart both hit home runs to join Jack Sawinski there. Triolo stole a base. And really the damage was done to Andrew Abbott. 4 2/3, 7 hits, 6 earned runs, and 2 walks. Nobody struck out. But then, after that, it was pretty much all roses. Hunter Harvey with an inning in the third, no earned runs. Dennis Santana picks up win number 5 on the year despite giving up an earned run. Hunter Stratton has a clean inning. Nice to see that. And David Bednar picking up save number 5 as we saw in that situation. So ultimately, job well done for everybody except Andrew Abbott. We move forward now to Game 3 to decide the series, and it will be Shane Baz versus Kumar Rocker. And that's a 3-0 shutout. So we bounce back from Milwaukee, and we now take a series against Detroit. There we go. Next up is my favorite team, the Baltimore Orioles, and they are head above water at 48-45, very close to that 500 mark, but only 4 games back behind us. Funny how just a handful of games can change the entire outlook on that season so far. When I say they're 3 games above 500, it's like a negative, right? It's like, oh, they're just barely an okay team. And then you look over there, we're 10 above 500, and it's really only 4 wins above them. I mean, it's not that great. So anyways, we'll put up Zach Littell versus Cade Povich. And Povich is having a really tough year so far. He's got a 5.48 ERA over 87 innings, picking up 7 losses. He does have 5 wins, though, which is more than Zach Littell could say, despite his stat line looking a lot more appealing. So who knows what's going to happen here. It is a 1-4 loss. Cade Povich picks up win number 6. Zach Littell, loss number 7. All right. Well, if this trend continues, we will lose the next 6 games, so let's just do it. Paul Skeens versus Daniel Espino. Let's get to this All-Star break so we can take a breath. But before we can do that, we have to go to the draft. It is the 2027 draft. Let's do this thing. All right, so before the draft, I do want to preview some of the top prospects that I am absolutely considering. First up is going to be left fielder Johnny Casto out of Nicaragua. He is a switch hitter, which is very appealing. His offensive and defensive numbers all look phenomenal. He's going to hit the ground running at a 71 to 83 overall. He's 19 years old, and his potential is most likely going to be a low B. But it's that high overall that I find really, really appealing. Steve Seidlinker is a perfect example of somebody that does not have soaring, very high potential. He's got a B potential. But he came in with the high overall, which gave him a short on-ramp into the major leagues, and he's been successful because his overall is enough for him to really compete. And I think that Johnny Casto has a chance to follow in that order. I also could throw a curveball here for Rod Quick, a closing pitcher who throws lefty, who has 89 to 94 potential and 73 to 78 overall to start. He looks like he could be major league ready in absolutely no time, and his numbers reflect a closer that has a very, very serious case of being a number 1 draft pick. I mean, absolutely could be a first rounder. It's just a matter of whether he's there and who else is left to compare him to. Jeremy Chow as a starter who throws lefty also looks very appealing. He should almost absolutely have B potential. 78 to 88 is that range, but if you figure somewhere around the middle is where most of them land, it's probably an 83 or thereabouts. But either way, it should be a B overall. But he's another one who has a very, very short route to get to the major leagues. He's going to be a 71 to 81 overall just to begin. So another guy that is pretty much at the ceiling, but if they can perform at a good to great level from the very get-go, I mean, you can get a lot of time and a lot of really, really good moments out of guys like these. Johnny Everett is another one, and he most likely won't be there as we pick at number 29, and his draft rank on the MLB board is 13. He's a switch hitter who will most likely have B potential, but there's a chance that he could have A. Now, he does have a higher bonus demand. This is $5.4 million that he's asking for, so I'm not sure how likely it is that we'll see him, and if he's there, it's really not the greatest case either to make it the number 1 pick for us, but Johnny Everett is something or somebody that I am still considering. Adam Lord is another one. I did talk about wanting to go after a lefty catcher, and that's what we have here. 75 to 90 potential with a 59 to 74 overall. Those are really good places to fall into, and he's only 18 years old, so there's plenty of time. I think the real challenge here would be that he's demanding $5.5 million for his bonus. And our bonus allotment this year is a lot smaller than it was last year. It is only $7.64 million. So if we were to sign Adam Lord and we needed that full bonus demand right there, it would almost bankrupt us for all of our other picks. So definitely something to consider. But a lefty catcher who eventually could hit for some power, but should have a very high average. I can't see any clutch ratings, of course, because this game is very silly for that. But he looks to be a really good catcher behind the plate that'll hit for a high average and a lefty to boot. So lots of interesting things for him. Left fielder Andres Garcia is another one who could be very interesting. He's a lefty bat with B potential guaranteed. It's 81 to 86. He's going to be a 64 to 69 overall, so another one who's going to start at an advanced level compared to some of these other draft picks that we've picked up over the years. Now, he does lean towards power in left field. Against both sides, he should be pretty effective there. I just worry a little bit about that discipline and the vision starting a little bit lower, but his fielding is going to be acceptable. The arm we definitely need to strengthen and work on, but he is fast out there in left field, so he's an interesting guy. And again, depending on the landscape of who's left, that's what it's so difficult about picking late in the first round, is you have to take your first round pick very seriously. And so that means a lot of individual scouting. And when you pick at 29, you've got to have, I would say, upwards of 10 guys that you have fully scouted, and it takes a lot of time to do that. So most of our scouting this year was individual right up until week 10. That's when I switched it over to region scouting and position scouting by doing it that way. But I was individual scouting with all 3 scouts through 9 full weeks to try to find a solid list of guys that could be around for the first round pick. So Andres Garcia is not going to light the world on fire for anybody. Definitely not as a first round pick either. I'd be much more comfortable with taking him as an early second round or something like that, but we don't have that luxury. So picking at 29, he could still be there, and because of that, I've got him on the board because he doesn't look like a bad player at all. He's just not the star caliber guy that you want at round 1. So those are some of the top picks. I won't take too much more time going through that. Let's go ahead and get to the draft. All right, this is where it's going to get very anxiety-inducing. I've got a lot of guys that I'm interested in, but we pick at 29. We are so far back there that there is a chance that every single guy I've scouted and slotted as a potential round 1 could get taken. Let's go ahead and get the dramatic top 3 reveals out of the way, and then we will move forward and bite our nails all the way up until 29. The number 1 draft pick in 2027 will be Pedro Colon, a starting pitcher, MLB draft rank of number 3. So not somebody we were looking at. That's a good start. For the second pick of the 2028 draft, well, 27, I guess, it is Darius Kaufman, a starting pitcher ranked number 2 on the big board. So, wow, nobody's taken the number 1 pick so far, but 3 and 2 go first. In the final dramatic reveal, number 3 will be Phil Rodriguez, draft rank 11. So, very interesting choices here by the computer, and Phil Rodriguez goes to the Nationals. Now, I'm not going to show every single draft pick as it's 10 seconds between all of them, and that's a lot of time just to sit, wait, and watch. So what I'll do is do that myself, and then I'll just move forward in the edit to show you guys where we're at. And Adam Lord was just taken by the Toronto Blue Jays. That was the catcher that I was very interested in, the lefty batting catcher who's probably going to have B potential. No, at 24, the Cleveland Guardians have picked up Johnny Casto. That was the guy that I was really, really hoping was still going to be there. High overall, switch hitter, left fielder, great offensive bat. Man, that's really tough. All right. So that means that with 2 more picks left to go, it's going to be Rod Quick, Johnny Barron, or David Whalen, depending on who's left. The Mariners pick Samuel Flores as center fielder, so yes, some of these guys are absolutely going to be there. They picked Henry Carrillo, that is the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, we got a choice to make here. Rod Quick as an A potential closing pitcher. He throws lefty, 73 to 78 overall, could be ready to go in the major leagues with near immaculate, ace level stuff. He's got 90 to 95 future potential for hits per 9, 89 to 94 strikeouts. The home runs are very limited. Everything looks phenomenal. He throws 3 pitches, the 4-seamer, changeup, and slider. The 4-seamer coming in up to 99 miles an hour, so it could be really nice to have Rod Quick. But we also could go after Johnny Barron, and I know less about him, so I'm definitely less secure in choosing him. But as a catcher, he looks like he'd be very good. But I don't know. Is this a number 1 draft pick for us? What about starting pitcher David Whalen, 18 years old, 76 to 91 potential, and he looks pretty good everywhere. His draft rank was 18 on the big board, so he has slipped quite a ways. Could also be Sergio Santiago, 73 to 88 potential, 62 to 77 overall, looking solid everywhere, no real weaknesses. He only wants $2.8 million for the bonus demand, and he throws 5 pitches, so very enticing. I don't want to go too much further down the list, but starting pitcher Chase Diaz is also interesting for his potential, not so much the overall, as he would be a work in progress to get there. So I think what it's going to come down to for me is who's ready to help us quicker. I know that we have closing pitcher Kirby DeVino that we traded for, but if we can get 2 aces, I mean, I'm okay with putting one of these guys, or even both possibly, as setup men as well. Their position says closing pitcher, but for me, that could easily be a reliever just in high leverage situations. So I don't know. I think that we're going to choose Rod Quick. And I think that I'm very excited for this. So the stamina is also pretty high for a relief pitcher anyways. It's 35 to 40 at present, going up to 44 to 49. So somewhere in there. But yeah, I think Rod Quick is going to be my guy. All right, well, hopefully we can sign him without any drama. Rod Quick, you are going to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. 1 pick left to go before our second round selection, and the Dodgers are up next. With 2 seconds left, they decide on Leonard Hartnett. That was a guy I had on my list, but I am pleased to tell you that Michael Pollard is still here at the top of my board. He is a first baseman that bats righty, 71 to 81 potential, 70 to 80 overall. He looks to have excellent offensive numbers. He's going to be a competent fielder, and at first base, I'm not really that worried about arm strength and accuracy, but the fielding looks solid to begin. He's got contact, power, vision, and discipline. He looks to be incredible. So this could be a very quick replacement for Luis Arraez. Welcome to the Pirates, Michael Pollard. All right, we do have a competitive balance round B here in the second round. We pick at 73. The top guys that I have still on my board are a lefty catcher, Hideo Maeda, 69 to 77 potential, 52 to 60 overall. It's not the greatest selection, but he's really motivated, so I know that we can get him. His bonus demand is under $1 million. He looks to be decent offensively and defensively. So a lefty catcher, like I've said before, something that I am absolutely gearing my brain towards trying to find, and we could have him right here. Next is shortstop Jeff Eckert with 60 to 91 potential. I know less about him as we've only got 20% scouted, but his motivation's up at 43 and he wants $1 million. I don't think that's really terrible. And defensively and speed-wise, Jeff Eckert is an absolute trailblazer. His bat looks to be competent to start, and it could finish up and be very good. And then we have starting pitcher Santiago Robles. He's got 81 to 96 potential, 56 to 71 overall. And I think that he looks pretty solid. I mean, he's got stamina for days, but everything else looks either MLB average or slightly even above average. It could come in to start. He's 21 years old, 69% motivated to sign at only $301,000. So we could take a little bit of a chance here on Robles, and I think that's actually what we're going to do. So at 73, we select Santiago Robles. Time for the next pick, and wow, that list has absolutely been obliterated. There's only 5 guys left, so let's be very quick. We have less than a minute. Juan Salas as a starting pitcher should have C potential and a decent overall to start. Andreas Escobar, I know very little about, but he looks competent at first base, at least with the bats. James Patton is definitely not something that I want on this board still. Isaiah Fisher at shortstop, not looking very good either. Ken Iden, not very good. Well, that makes it easy then. It's going to be Juan Salas. I don't like that they give us less time in the later draft rounds. Like, it still matters. Give me a little bit of breathing room, will you? Next up is round 4, and I've only got 3 guys. Isaiah Fisher, who looks to have decent potential, possibly. The bat definitely is going to leave something to be desired, at least to start. Ken Iden is still here on the board as well at shortstop. And Herb Lamar, first baseman with excellent looking offensive numbers. He's most likely going to come in at a higher overall than his potential, but I think we could work with that. We will add Herb Lamar to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Round 5 is here, and Fisher and Iden are still both here. Is there anybody else? Nobody left on the top 100 prospects, but if I go to all, Ken Iden is the highest rated guy right now, at least according to our board. Yeah, just there's nothing really there for the bat. I don't know. It's not really great, but we also only have 31% scouted progress, so we might just be forced into this one right now as Ken Iden is one of the few guys that are left. All right, we're going to go ahead and draft him. We're taking a shot in the dark now. Rounds 5 and 6 are usually just guesswork anyways, and it definitely is going to be in this draft. It's round 6, and I have nobody on the board, so we've got less than a minute to decide who we're taking. I like the potential here for a decent overall. I don't know. Oh, it's so difficult. 54 to 88, 46 to 80, but the overall here could come in lower for Luke Williams than it will for Dennis Quintero. Johnny West, wow, hey, I like those numbers. Okay, this guy looks like he could do it. He's a lefty reliever. The walks, home runs, control, velocity, break, everything looks phenomenal. Cutter and curveball look great. All right, yeah, why not? Johnny West. That's our final draft pick. Welcome to the team, maybe. All right, so I felt like we started off pretty strong in the draft, and then it just really tanked once we got to round 4. But we'll see what happens in the next couple weeks of simming, where they finally reveal the overalls and the potential for these guys, and we'll see what if we picked up anything good. We ended up making 7 draft picks, just like we did last year, and there's certainly some guys that I'm excited about from last year's draft class as well, so hopefully we can add some exciting prospects into the roster. And that's all we have time for this episode. It was a big one to get the draft done, but I'm happy we did it, and now we can look forward to the back half of the 2027 season. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you soon for the next episode.